Okay, so let's look ahead to a September schedule. We've got the next big game up is Man City at home. First real massive test of the season for Arsenal. Hopefully we don't get any injuries from the international break. I want to start with you, Andrew. Are you confident about us going into that game?
Yeah. We certainly obviously beat them quite convincingly in the Community Shield final. There's only so much you can look into that, and also I think since then City have really found form, whereas Arsenal, I don't think we've been particularly impressive on the field so far this season. I think we've been quite sloppy in a lot of our games, and we've invited a lot of pressure on ourselves. You'd like to think that by the time we play Man City, obviously Gibbs will be back free from injury. I'm not sure, is Arteta back?
Good
So
question.
I think if Arteta's available, that would be a big one for midfield. City are looking, obviously they hammered Liverpool the other night. They found form,
but they lost to Stoke.
That's true. But if City can raise it for the big games, that's what we saw with Chelsea last year. They didn't necessarily raise it for the small games, but they did for the big games. So I think it's going to be a huge test for us. We got a good point against them at home last season. I know we lost 6-3 away there last year, but I don't think we embarrassed ourselves particularly like we did in some of the other big games against Chelsea or Liverpool, for example. I think we do have the ability there to, on our day, to raise our game to beat City, but it is going to be quite a big test for the boys. So I'm not convinced that we're going to win, but I think we certainly have much more of a chance than a lot of fans would give us from the outset.
Robbie, it's an intriguing tie.
Definitely. I think we're going to be fired up for this game because of the whole Danny Welbeck thing. Because Danny Welbeck's coming in,
it's a long sight,
ex-Man United player. He's really going to be fired up. I don't know. I've got a good feeling. I kind of think that the game's come at a good time for us to play City, coming after the international break. We're at home.
Injuries permitting.
I don't think it's good.
But we're at home as well, and you're right. We haven't played that great so far this season. But we've only had that one home game in the Premier League as well. So coming back home, the fans are going to be up for it, I think, and I think the players will be up for it, as I said, with those new players coming in. So I actually got a good feeling. Slightly worried about the midfield, because the one thing about when you play City is that power that they've got in midfield, which we lack, and that's where it's really going to be tested. That's where we're going to see if there are deficiencies. That's where they'll get exposed in a game like that. But I don't know, at home I'm confident that we'll get a result.
Amanda, last season, as Andrew alluded to, we faced them up quite well. I think second half we were much the better team than them in the home game. Are you worried? Are you confident? Do you think that even without the additions in defensive midfield or that powerful midfielder, do you think that we've got enough to cope with them again?
No. I think if Koscielny's not fit, I'm going to dread that day.
But he's been nursed through, isn't he? He's not, as it stands.
Well, his Achilles seems to be a bit of an issue at the moment. He didn't look. I know he got concussed the other day. I don't think we've got enough. No, I really don't. The Welbeck factor would be brilliant. I agree with Robbie. I said this the other night. Bring him on. He hates City. He's a mank. United. We're going to have a bit of. That would be great. I don't know. I just don't know. I did predict a draw at Leicester, and I'm never going to predict again. I never normally predict. Because I knew, I have this theory that after Champions League we always start a bit slow, but it was a bit different this match. We're not, and I was at the Charity Shield and we were phenomenal, but City weren't even there.
I don't think you can really.
You can't count.
Manchester United won all 7 pre-season games. They're worth nothing.
Yeah, it's 4 to 6 of City's first team players were out. I was sitting with a City fan who just said to me, well, none of this defence will be playing, so you can't compare. And we looked on fire that day. It was great. We were brilliant, but it's going to be very different prospects. I actually think this is not a game good for us at 1:15 Saturday week. I'd have preferred to have a Southampton at home or something, just to get the 3 points under our belts, get a bit of confidence. We've got big games coming up: Chelsea, Tottenham, Dortmund. This is a big month, massive month.
Is there bigger pressure?
We have the Dortmund game's just 3 days later.
Oh,
You've almost got to put it in a package because that's such a huge game as well. If you lose in Dortmund, you're struggling in the rest of the group, or rather you can't afford another slip, which means that you can't even do a little bit of rotation in related Champions League games, and we know how important the manager quite rightly puts on getting out the Champions League group. So you have to have one eye on what you do at Dortmund. We already know at Dortmund we've got a big problem in that Debuchy is out. Do you play the right back that will play at Dortmund in the City game? Well, I don't think you do, given the situation that we do, but those 2 games I think almost will define our season. And also, let's not forget, we haven't beaten a top team. You know what I mean by top team, a big Premier for 2 seasons now. 2 seasons. We just have to win one of these big games.
I think there is an issue with potentially a mental block. In the same way that against Chelsea for years, and Didier Drogba especially, there was clearly a mental issue there. It was just, you couldn't get their heads around it. I think City might have too much, I've got to say. I think Arsenal is a new team in many positions. If you have Sanchez, Welbeck, Debuchy, people like that, I think it's.
Do you think that City are in the same boat as us? They've got Bayern Munich.
No, they're not in the same boat as us.
They've just come off a defeat. You know, they're not clicking.
I think
they're not
City are a
clicking.
team designed to actually play well against the bigger sides. Their performance against Liverpool for the last hour was absolutely unbelievable. I just think.
But they are also. Don't forget, they did lose their last game to Stoke, and I just think that I would rather us play after coming back after this break. I'd rather us have City than say a Southampton, like you said, because I could see us, say in a Southampton game, going out a little lacklustre, taking it easy, easing our way in. We're not going to be able to do that against City. We're going to have to be up for it. And for me, I've just got a feeling that game comes at a good time for us.
Is there enough power in midfield?
That's
if we went back to in June, everyone would have said we've got to sign that hulk of a midfielder to fight against the big teams. It's more of a visual away from home, but it hasn't been addressed. So you have some big questions. Do you bring Arteta in, but we see the problems he has against these stronger teams? What do you do with Ozil? You might as well not play him as play him out on the left, or do you bring him into the middle, which disrupts the rhythm that he has? He hasn't actually got his midfield this season worked out.
No.
But
I don't think he knows.
Are we focusing too much on what their advantages are, not focusing enough on what we've got?
No, we've spoken about us. So we can see our failings.
But I mean, in terms of what we've got to offer, we've got a lot of pace and power now up front.
So are we going to go like Kevin Keegan then? He's going to be like 5'4".
We don't need to
Is that
go
what
5'4".
it's going to be like?
That's Man United.
I'm telling you, we've got to outscore them because we can't.
There's
Might
as well give up now, surely.
Last season, when we played them at home, remember we're at home. Yeah, not a lot of teams come to. Remember we've got a very, very good record at home. Not a lot of teams come to the Emirates, even the big teams last season, and beat us. So you've got to remember that we're at home, and as I said, Welbeck, I think will have it fired up, and they're coming off of a defeat, and I just think it's a good chance for us. So I do worry about the power. As you said, we haven't addressed that. We just got to go with what we got now, and that is the one area that worries me. But I definitely think, attacking-wise, even City, their defence so far this season hasn't been that great.
So as Tim and I are saying, we're going to have to outscore them.
Obviously, to win a game,
yes, but I'm saying it could go 3, 4, 5.
Keep a clean sheet against this.
If you analyse,
do you think Aguero's worried about?
If you even analyse that game against Liverpool, I thought that Liverpool for about the first half an hour of that game were giving City loads of problems. So, I think it's a good time to play City.
Okay, but if we come out, Robbie, if we come out and do what you're saying, yes, it's 1:45. We never play well at quarter. I have an issue with this.
That's away.
We don't create much at 1:45 at our place. The atmosphere's flatter as well.
But it won't be.
It won't be on Saturday, surely.
Let's see.
The skill of Sanchez is going to give a lot of problems to
Sanchez,
Dalglish.
but the speed, yes, I agree on all that. I am with Tim on this, unbelievable.
I think it's very interesting to see who
the
replaces.
midfield is that Arteta with the City midfield. Oh my God,
But it
just worries me.
It depends who you play in midfield, because does Ozil play? Essentially, I'm
not
sure he will.
I'm not sure
For me, Ozil plays every single game.
Okay, but if you play him on the left with either Monreal or Gibbs, they're going to get overrun by City. Whether it's Sanya, whether it's Zabaleta coming up with Nasri, the left back is going to have no chance because Ozil can't really play there.
The funny thing is they may play an interchanging position.
Yeah,
with Welbeck there on that left, sort of covering back.
And Ozil just stay out of the way.
Sort of Sanchez coming, him and Sanchez switching.
And what about Cazorla in all this? Listen, Riziki, we've got...
I'm confident.
I don't know who's going to play.
Maybe I shouldn't be as confident as I am, but I just think it's a good time for Arsenal to play.
Well, I hope you're right.
Who plays right back here? If we move it on to the big game coming straight afterwards, who do you think plays right back in Dortmund?
Well, in Dortmund, I suppose.
For me, it's got to be Chambers.
You've also got Bellerin who could.
That's why I asked, because you've got a choice.
Very impressive Bellerin. I know it's only friendlies, but he impressed me.
It's a big ask though, isn't it?
It's
never
a
played a
massive
senior game.
I was going to say that Dortmund.
Marco Reus versus Bellerin, I think it's going to be too much of a test. I think Wenger wouldn't put Bellerin in that situation too early. He's only really played England football.
So if he's thinking of Chambers at right back, does he play him against City?
No.
Right.
You got to play.
No.
I mean, I know
unless he has. That's my point. Sorry, I know he wouldn't be first.
We do it with goalkeepers like Fabianski and Szczesny last year, but right back, you got to play your best team.
But whether Koscielny's Achilles can get through Manchester City
that was my next
on
thing.
Saturday and Dortmund on Tuesday.
No.
Well, I suppose we'll just have to see how it goes, and hopefully it's going to be a confident display from our boys, and take it from there. Let's wrap it up for now. If you want to leave your comments, please do so. If you want to subscribe to the channel, it's Arsenal Fan TV. I've been Giles, he's been my guest. Please join us again for another Arsenal discussion. Thank you.
Get the Arsenal Fan TV app, available on Apple and Android now.